Research gave us a kind of global overview of 5G development activity. And so now we're joined by Azita Arvani, General Manager of Rakuten Mobile Americas, and Arnaud Vamparys, Senior Vice President, Seamless Wireless Access at Orange. So maybe to start out our conversation here, you could each give us a bit of an update on where your respective organizations are in terms of deploying 5G today, and maybe give us a little color on some of your 2021 strategic priorities. Azita, could we start with you, please?
Sure. Hi, Sean. Very nice to be here. I wanted to just step back for a second, going back to our 4G deployment, which really set the foundation for our 5G deployment. So if you recall, we got our LTE license back in April of 2018. And at that point, we had a choice of either going with a traditional architecture or lean into the future and going to the cloud native, open RAN, and open architecture. So we decided to go with the take advantage of disaggregation, take advantage of virtualization and software defined architecture. And so that set the scene. So fast forward to April of 2020, when we launched the first end-to-end cloud native open RAN mobile network in Japan, and that was a big success. This kind of architecture gave us a lot of savings in terms of our OpEx and CapEx, and we were able to pass on that savings in a very simple service plan that we call Unlimit to our customers, which was at less than half the price of what others were offering. So that was our 4G. Then we followed it by our 5G in September of 2020, and we went now one level deeper into the cloud native journey, to going from the virtualization using virtual machines to virtualization using containerization and microservices architecture. So that gave us even more elasticity, more scalability, and more efficiency. So we were able to offer that at a plan that we call Tada 5G, which means free 5G in Japanese at no additional cost. So that really gave us, as I said, more elasticity at lower cost, and using containers was really much, taking it to the next level. And in January now, we are able to offer this service we call Unlimit 6, which really makes it a no-brainer for users of any kind of data consumption, whether they're to be able to move into this plan very affordably, because we believe that having the right to internet via your phone is really a right, not a privilege. So we try to make the connectivity as affordable as possible. So this is a tiered plan, which you pay nothing for 1 gigabyte and so on and so forth. So anyway, so the traction has been phenomenal. So we have over 2.5 million applications for our service. In terms of overall strategic plans moving forward, there are 4 pillars of our plan. Number 1, the disaggregation, especially when it comes to radio and radio access network, simplifying the cell site, reducing our CapEx dramatically, which we started in 4G going to 5G and continuing. The unified cloud, having that elasticity and the same cloud going from the far edge to regional to centralized data center. Massive automation. We've been in the journey from the very beginning in 4G and continuing on, and it gets better and better. So this end-to-end automation that of everything, and this is dramatically reduced our OpEx, and we're adding more and more machine learning and AI to this, and we want to, you're aspiring to be a level 4 autonomous network in a couple of years. And then also the modern organization, to be able to have this, to handle the next generation business with new skill sets, very cloud native, in addition to telco expertise, and focused on platform.
Excellent. I appreciate that update. And then Arnaud, I know given the multinational nature of your organization, there's no one single answer to where you are with 5G, but maybe you could just give us a high level overview.
Thanks, Sean. Yes, as Orange, we are today operating, as you know, in 28 countries in Europe and Africa, Middle East. We are serving 240 million mobile customers, but we are as well number one player in Europe for fiber with 47 million connectable households. In 2020, we were quite proud because we have been named the best mobile network in France for the 10th years in succession. And we want, of course, to maintain our network leadership with 5G for the next decade. So we have already launched 5G NSA technologies in Europe, including recently Spain and France. We are using for that the 3.4, 3.8 gigahertz spectrum as the main 5G band. And we are deploying on existing 4G sites technology, mainly in urban areas, to achieve a gigabit experience for our Orange customers. It's a real rupture, like having fiber in your pocket. So the deployment in urban areas, of course, in 2021, but as well in a connectivity zone, and in these 5 countries, but as well in others, depending on the 5G frequency availability. Our strategic plan, Engage 2025, we are considering the development of 5G around 3 axes, main axes. The improvement of the mobile broadband, enabling immersive experience, the support of a digital transformation of businesses and society, leveraging a new real-time usage, and finally, a complementary solution for fixed broadband access, especially where fiber infrastructure is not widely deployed yet.
So I was in the networking platform prior to the start of the sessions today, and there was a lot of questions around Open RAN, and I figured that you both have excellent perspectives on that. So I wanted to talk Open RAN for a minute. Azita, Rakuten Mobile, arguably the most visible proof point of how this approach to building a multi-vendor RAN can work at scale in a very demanding consumer environment. So maybe if you look back on that journey of building the network and forming that vendor ecosystem, what are some of the lessons that you've taken away from that process?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when we started going on this journey of virtualization, it was sort of easy to not to do the RAN portion and just concentrate on things that are a little bit simpler, like on the control plane side with the core and so forth. But we really thought that we get a lot of bang for our buck if we really concentrate on the RAN piece. And so we worked with a lot of our partners, and it took a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication to really make that work. And now that we've really proven that this works, it's once you go digital and once you go Open RAN, you never look back. And a lot of things. Number one is this disaggregation. Taking all the electronics out of the site and putting in the software running on the COTS hardware. I mean, that is huge in itself, right? The fact that your site is very, very simplified. It helps a lot with reducing your capex, and then that whole electronics that did your baseband function, it's running in software on IT servers, right? So that really reduces your cost structure, and just helps a lot with also your provisioning of the site. So, for example, our cell site provisioning in 4G takes 8.5 minutes. In 5G, it only takes 4 minutes. I mean, compare that with 3 to 5 days in an average traditional telco to provision a cell site. So we think that this going with Open RAN, it has many, many benefits. We have the many different use cases, whether it be urban, suburban, rural, that are, and we have many different radio units that are now being terminated by the same virtual baseband software, right? So you're able to bring in the best of breed for different kinds of radio use cases that you have, without changing the software at the baseband. And so, it really opens up the supply chain. It reduces the cost. So we think that going Open RAN is a big deal. Now, in terms of the lessons learned, the integration competence, it's really important that you be really good in system integration and not be afraid that you need to work with multiple partners and integrate that together. Because with an open architecture, you're enabling this open ecosystem, and you need to have that integration competence. Of course, with our Rakuten Communications platform systems, we have tried to minimize that system integration piece to make it easier on others. Disaggregation, the Open RAN is, as I mentioned, is critical to us, and also brings innovation at much more granular levels. Automation, it's been a big theme for us. We need to be relentless about. We've been relentless about the automation from the start, and so developing that automation DNA from the beginning. We have a motto that if you're doing something twice, you need to automate that. And then organizational design is also very important, right? So and bringing folks that are not just good in telco, but have that cloud IT skills and no silos, right? So we're not creating these silos of expertise for different network functions. Each network function is really a cloudified, either microservice, container, and so they should be treated more not as snowflakes and not having silos of organization. Having an organization that's very fluid and agile helps a lot.
And then from the Orange perspective, I know that you have plans today to use Open RAN to grow your coverage area and your subscriber base in Central African Republic. And then last month, big news with this memorandum of understanding between Vodafone, DT, Telefonica, and Orange to commit to deploying Open RAN at scale in the next few years. So, I think a few things here, but I heard your CTIO say that the initial focus would be rural, and then there was also a place for Open RAN in your in-building ambitions. So maybe you can take us through why Orange made this commitment, and long-term, whether you see Open RAN as something that will just sit in rural and in-building, or whether that's something that you can see in your more demanding markets.
Yes, Sean, Orange is one of the 5 operators that have founded in ORAN Alliance in February 2018, so now 3 years ago. And we are proud that Open RAN, based on ORAN specification, is now becoming mainstream, a clear target for the entire industry. Since the beginning of 4G, all of us have benefited from a global ecosystem of positive. And Open RAN is a way to maintain a global target with open interfaces and interoperable solutions from different vendors. And it's quite critical. Through the Open RAN MOU you mentioned, we just signed together with T-Mobile, Telefonica, and Vodafone, and the associated commitment to deploy Open RAN solutions. Our intention is to achieve European leadership. We are working with European and state member public authorities to focus money from the recovery plan to Open RAN projects right now, allowing the development of new companies, but as well as existing ones like Ericsson or Nokia. We have engaged as well with a number of European industrial actors in software, hardware, integration, to support development, test, field trial, and as well to deploy their solution when they reach maturity. As mentioned by Azita, one is delivering different business promises: faster innovation, reduced vendor locking thanks to open interface, lower OPEX through automation, faster TTM thanks to cloud native infrastructure approach, and easier integration with third-party services, and as well on-demand services for B2B. So you see, Open RAN solution, of course, will become major over the coming years to reach feature parity with our existing traditional RAN. In our rural coverage program in Africa called IDEAL, We have already used Open RAN flexibility in the last years to co-design with different key partners, an access plus backhaul all-in-one solution. And as mentioned by you, Sean, we just signed, for example, a contract with Neuron Wireless, a Canadian company, for deploying 2,000 all-in-one solar that will extend existing coverage in that country and connect 10 million more people in a sustainable way. In the 2 coming years, I believe that Open RAN will reach maturity for indoor system, rural networks, and private networks. And that will bring quite additional flexibility as well for network sharing. That is specifically of interest in rural areas, but as well that will increase our occupancy rate for our new TowerCo company called Totem. We already have more than half of our site in passive or active sharing in Europe right now. In the midterm, around 2023, 2024, Open RAN solution will reach a next level with a parity with traditional RAN for massive MIMO macro networks. All network deployment should then be based on Open RAN. And therefore, from 2025, all new equipment deployed by Orange in Europe should be Open RAN.
Well, I know that has a lot of vendors excited and really gives the go-ahead to invest in R&D and move towards feature parity, as you said. Azita, you mentioned RCP and the traction you're seeing there. You all recently announced a collaboration with Legato Networks here in the US. They've got some E-band holdings, and as I understand that, the agreement is focused on building private 5G network for enterprises. So maybe you can share some detail on what you're doing with Legato and maybe a little more broadly what you expect in terms of enterprise adoption of private 5G.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Yeah, we are very excited about the announcement we made with the agreement with Legato. But just a step back on what Rakuten Communications Platform is, because I think that helps set the context. So in the journey we've had in our cloud-native Open RAN architecture, a lot of operators have asked us, how we want to do the similar thing that you do. So can you help us? So we have created this platform that's really based on all the experiences we've had in the last 2.5 years, and putting it all together in a platform to make it easier for others to be able to take this cloud-native Open RAN journey. And so this RCP, as we call it, or Rakuten Communications Platform, has got 3 layers. And so the bottom layer is the telco, unified telco layer. And it's based on the most advanced cloud technology, based on Kubernetes, and then hardened for telco grade requirements. And that goes across all the different layers of cloud that you might have in your network. As I mentioned, in our Japan network, there's 3 layers, but it could be more or less. And on top of that sits our network function layer. And that's where you take advantage of your open architecture. You bring in this multi-vendor aspect, you bring in the best of breed for various network functions you want, whether it be for virtual baseband or virtual core, virtual RCS, etc. And we onboard these in a way that makes it be part of a holistic system rather than just stitching together a bunch of point solutions. And on top of that is an overarching, what we call intelligent and secure operations. And that's where we take advantage of the automation that I talked to you earlier. And that continuously improves. So these 3 layers together is what RCP is made up of. And depending on the operator that we talk to, you could take the entire RCP or pieces of it. So with Legato, as you mentioned, they have the L-band, and they would like to provide the 5G mobile private networks to enterprises. And they would like to do it using an open architecture, Open RAN, and end-to-end virtualization. So this is a greenfield enterprise network. And so we can take advantage of the entire RCP. So we're partnering together to do a start with a trial of what a mobile private network for enterprises would look like using RCP, and whether it's factory automation or autonomous driving or precision agriculture. These are great use cases for 5G, but you need the underlying connectivity substrate that super agile, so you can add various services to it, and you don't know what those services are at this point. Every enterprise has its own. It has to be super cost effective, so that it will make sense, economical sense, to be able to have this connectivity in the enterprise. And it also has to be super secure, obviously, because you're dealing with very important information and data, so whether it be compliance, privacy, etc., that you're dealing with. So as I mentioned, I'm very excited about this opportunity and working with Legato to take this forward. And we see a lot of enterprises that are interested in doing this. They've tried working in other networking, non-cellular networking, and it hasn't really quite covered all of their requirements. So very excited about this.
Great. Look forward to seeing how that partnership develops. And our new, Industry 4.0, obviously a big priority among some of the countries that Orange provides service, definitely a consummate talking point from the European Commission. So I'm just curious to get your perspective here. How do you see 5G being considered and explored by these large industrial interests? And do you think that private networks are going to be sort of the primary deployment model, or does the public network have a role to play in supporting that industry digitization effort?
In fact, since 2 years now in Orange, we are co-developing a future use case now 5G with different companies in Europe. And with our B2B unit called Orange Business Services, we have already engaged with more than 1,000 of them. And we have recently announced 9 new 5G labs to further scale and give access to as many of these companies to an entire 5G ecosystem. Through the initial deployments, we experience that 5G is enabling indeed rapid digital transformation for industrial firms. Companies are able to exploit data when it is produced, which makes them more agile, more into their customer needs, and more responsive in their markets. This is made possible because we have a unique combination of 5G, of the Internet of Things to connect objects, of edge computing on customer premises, and software using artificial intelligence. The world of opportunities is opening for different business sectors. And for industries, for example, you can get data from Vive remote controls for probe readings, HD camera in real time. You have industrial carriage that are able to cooperate with each other. And this is, of course, improving the productivity of a production site or sites. For PMR as well, private mobile radio is used for critical communication, and 5G provides the right platform for high availability and security. But in fact, few companies can hardly invest $1 million for each industrial site to create a private network. Imagine, it's like opening a new small operator each time, from SIM provisioning to supervision. Only some multinational companies are able to do so. And I do think that companies should be able to leverage on the nationwide multi-billion network investment done by the operators. On the industrial sides, the optimum is to create a kind of private extension of the public network with additional indoor small cells and a local breakout of the traffic. It's a hybrid private-public approach that has another virtue. It doesn't waste scarce and costly 5G spectrum. Spectrum dedicated to one usage have never been a success. Let's remember together WiMAX for B2B. And last but not least, when you divide this 5G spectrum in small pieces, the lower is the 5G experience in your country. That's why I personally prefer the model designed by the French authorities compared to the German one. In France, the full available 5G spectrum has been auctioned to a few number of operators with obligation to them to address correctly the B2B demand. And all size companies will be able to access and grab the 5G opportunity, not only multinational, and everyone will benefit nationwide from a better 5G quality at the end.
And we've got about 2 minutes left here, so I'm going to have to skip my highly detailed questions about where you are with your core evolutions in terms of NSA to SA. And maybe to conclude, you could just give us a bottom line based on your own organizational experience. What do you see as key to success of building, operating, and monetizing 5G? Azita, could we start with you?
The key to success is really lean into the future. You know, the more we spend time trying to look at, you know, what are the problems there, you know, like trying to be a naysayer, the harder it is, because, you know, we need to be pulled by the future and also be pulled by this cloud IT wave that has been with the enterprises for a long time. And if you're really serious about 5G as an enabler for Industry 4.0 and digital transformation of other enterprises, we need to heed our own advice and really do digitalization and digital transformation in our own networks first. And that really provides the foundation to help other industry go through the digital transformation. So that's really, really important. And so at this point, with our experience, people can see, I mean, we are now, for our 5G, we have sub-6 implementation, we have millimeter wave implementation, we are doing 1.77 gigabits per second throughput with 5G. So all those questions about, oh, Open RAN cannot have the performance, and Open RAN this and Open RAN that, it's not really, it's not difficult anymore. It's more like the comfort zone, right? People have to come out of their comfort zone. They've done things a certain way before, and they have to, you know, get used to a new way of doing things. But so the more you allow yourself be pulled by the future, as opposed to anchoring yourself in the past, I think that's really a big point of being successful, and having an open mindset that we're all in this together, and we've seen the other side, and it's much better, and together we can move it forward much faster. And that requires an organization that's agile, that has a very open mindset, very telco, and in addition, you know, cloud and IT DNA in addition to telco expertise, and really breaking the silos and put your mind on automation as well. So those are some of the key success factors.
Arnaud, anything to briefly append to that?
Yes, briefly, for this new 5G core and Open RAN evolution, I believe we have 3 significant challenges to successfully build, operate, and monetize 5G. The first one is the end-to-end integration capability, and that is helping to keep a vivid market for RAN hardware, software. The second one is really around to get the right edge infrastructure with specific hardware acceleration needed for massive MIMO. So we have quite a journey there. And the third one is our capability to automate the radio parameters and to plug third-party application into the RAN intelligent controller. We already have introduced a tool called CESON, Centralized Organizing Network Tool. And last year, we changed already 70 million parameters in closed loop. And that will continue. So I really believe that only a few operators will be able to handle correctly this free transformation and offer the best quality to the customer. And Orange has definitely the ambition shown to be one of them.
All right, excellent. Well, I really appreciate you both taking the time to share your perspective. To the audience, we're going to take a quick coffee and networking break and come back at 10:05 with another panel session. But Azita, Arnaud, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Arnaud.
You're welcome. Thank you.